Good afternoon, good morning, everyone from Estoril, round 3 of the TCR International Series. The first race of the weekend here in Portugal. Beautiful sunny skies, beautiful blue skies, perfect conditions to go racing, and a very different looking grid to what we saw in Bahrain a few weeks ago. Mato Homela is the man on pole position, the 22-year-old Slovakian. His second weekend in TCR, and he's already claiming the pole position for B3 Racing and their Seat. A 17-car entry list here in Estoril, with Volkswagen, Seat and Honda represented, as well as our lone Subaru of Luca Rangotti there, and Michael Cerruti in an Alfa Romeo. We also have local man, Francisco Mora, and returnee Loris Hezemans. We'll be talking about Loris quite a bit because he took pole position for race 2, which is later on this afternoon. No back-to-back. The other big story of qualifying was Dusan Borkovic. Third in the championship, fastest in free practice 2, but crashed in qualifying. So Dusan will start at the very back of the field, but thanks to lots of good work from the B3 Racing team, he will start, and they've been working since 5 o'clock this morning to get that car up and running. Pepe Oriola leads the championship, 15 points ahead of James Nash, a couple of points ahead of the first of the Hondas of Gianni Morbidelli, and then Sergei Afanasiev in the third of the Craft Bamboo Lukoil Seats in fourth position. Dusan Borkovic there in fifth, dropping from third because of the lack of points from qualifying. You do get points in qualifying. Then David Kajaya in another of the Volkswagens. And going further down the list, still to get off the mark, Kevin Gleeson in the third West Coast Honda, and obviously Michaela Cerruti as well. Francisco Mora returning to the championship. Also, he raced in Portugal last year. Here is James Nash. Not particularly happy with his qualifying. They were here in testing on Wednesday. Felt like they got a great setup for the car, so didn't do any free practice 1 or very little running in free practice 2. Went directly into qualifying and all of a sudden found the car didn't feel like it had done on Wednesday. So he starts down in 9th spot. Here is the circuit then. Just over 4 kilometres in length, designed in 1974, the home of the Portuguese Grand Prix from 84 through to the mid-90s. And an amazing old school circuit. From Formula 1 to Formula 1, we were in Bahrain a few weeks back in a ultra-modern facility, but this is old school and all the drivers love it. Gianni Morbidelli has raced around here in a Formula 1 car. Thumbs up from him. Few good years in Formula 1 before being a champion of the Superstars Italian Championship. Had a year in World Touring Cars, or a couple of years in World Touring Cars in fact, and then has become the linchpin for the West Coast Racing Honda team, and he lines up P2 alongside Matteo Homola. John Calvinet and Stefano Camini make it an all Volkswagen second row. The Leopold Racing team getting a weight break of 30 kilos, and therefore they are in row 2. Afanasiev and Pellin row 3. Pepe Ariola, your championship leader, row 4 alongside Kevin Gleeson. And then James Nash in 9th. We've seen Loris Heisemans in 10th position, and those missing out on the reverse grid effect for race 2, Attila Tassi and David Kajaya. They qualified into Q2 though, the top 12 going through. Mikhail Grashov and Francisco Mora, and then Michele Cerruti and Luca Rangoni in the Subaru. Still with work to do in those 2 cars. And finally, Duka Borkovic at the back. It's going to be fascinating to see what Dusan can do from all the way back there. He's got to do it twice today, race 1 and in race 2. A nice big gap between the 2 races, so if there is damage, there is time to repair the cars and get them out for the 5 o'clock race 2. And the cars now head off onto their warm-up lap. No tyre warmers in this championship, therefore stone cold, hard Michelin tyres. And it is nice and sunny here. The tarmac is abrasive, but it's still very tricky to get temperature, especially into the rear tyres. So watch for massive oversteer moments for the first couple of fast corners here in Estoril. Plenty of work to do for the drivers. You can see them flinging the car left to right. Now, that does scrub off any surface that you've still got either from the previous sessions, or if anyone's got any new tyres, then the release agent on that tyre. But moreover, that weaving will also fling the rear of the car, and that is what they're trying to do. They're trying to warm up the rear tyres, because with the fronts you've got these big brake discs that you can warm up and get the temperature into the rim and then into the tyre from there. But at the rear, the brakes are tiny, so the only way to do it is through surface temperature, and the only way to do that is to fling the car from left to right, because of course they do have front-wheel drive, these cars. And therefore you can see Mikhail Grashov there really getting the rear end sliding around to try and generate some temperature. Duka Borkovic, this is his basically 3rd lap in this car since it was completely rebuilt overnight. As I say, he wiped out the whole of the front end of the car, the radiator, the engine had to come out, and they had to straighten the crash structure on the right-hand side where he hit the Armco barrier. Also needed suspension parts on that right-hand side. He even bent the steering wheel when he went into the barrier, so his steering wheels were being replaced as well. And he's only had 2 reconnaissance laps from the pit lane onto the grid to get a feel for how the car is reacting. He was at a loss as well yesterday as to why the accident happened. Through turn 2, big, fast, sweeping right-hander, and the rear stepped away. And despite, the normal thing to do on a front-wheel drive car is to keep your foot in. So he did so, and the rear never came back to him, and it just threw him into the barrier. Stefano Camini sliding his way through the second part of the lap, throwing the car from right to left and left to right, trying to get some temperature into the rear. There is Dusan Borkovic's girlfriend, or wife, sorry, Adriana. And she is the boss. Yesterday, taking him off to make sure he's fed and watered. He's so concentrating on making sure this transition from the ETCC to TCR is a successful one. He's brought the team with him, the B3 Racing Hungarian-based team, new to this championship this year, and within 2 races have got themselves a pole position with Matto Homola. Simon Cumberbatch and the rest of the engineers from West Coast Racing. Duca lines up in position. We're ready to go racing. Sorry, that must have been Matto Homola. The Lukoil Racing team. Craft Bamboo running the 3 cars for James Nash, Pepe Oriola and Sergei Afanasiev. Sergei's so happy about racing on old school racetracks. He's really enthusiastic about racing here, and then we go to Spa, and then we go to Imola. But let's focus now on what is happening on track. The green flag is about to rise, and we are ready to get the lights out. Here we go, and that is at a stall from Gianni Morbidelli. It was a very, very slow start from the front row of the grid, and it's allowed Jean-Carl Venet to come up alongside Matto Homola. You've got Aku Pellerin on the outside line, but Jean-Carl Venet has the inside line. Matto's going to get really squeezed, and Jean-Carl Venet's backed out of it. So he's dropped back down to 4th position. Good start from one of the Lukoil cars, trying to go round the outside, but Gianni Morbidelli, from a man who didn't really look like he had a good start at all, is now at the front of the field. Matto into 2nd position, Vernet 3rd, Aku Pellerin trying to get in the inside to block off Stefano Camini, but couldn't make it stick there. I think he might have done it on the exit of the turn. He has. He slots into 4th position. Then it's Camini, and then Sergei Afanasiev has made a better start, and in fact it was Oriola's made a bad one. He was the strongest of the 3. So it's Afanasiev, Nash, Oriola, those 3 red Seats, and then Grashev side by side with Loris Hazemans for 9th position. And Attila Tassi getting involved in there as well. Mikhail Grashov comes up the inside of those 2. Still trying to sort each other out further back. Pepe Oriola down the inside of James Nash. Nash covers him off. They're still trying to tiptoe around this circuit. They're not quite sure how much temperature and therefore grip they have from their Michelin tyres, but at the same time trying to race hard. Morbidelli it is that leads. 3 wins last year, 3 wins in the TCR International Series, and it's Attila Tassi's further back. It's Dusan Borkovic, actually, who is in that B3 racing car, who is already up to 10th position. An amazing start from Dusan Borkovic, as Grashov gets unceremoniously dumped onto the dirt. Good to see the Subaru running in 13th position behind the 2 Lukoils. Oh, and what's that? That's a little bit of cement dust that's gone down on the start-finish straight from an earlier accident. Here comes Matto Homola, down the inside under braking for turn 1, and he claims the line and moves into 1st position, ahead of Gianni Morbidelli. We're going to see that all the way through the race, because there is a bit of a tailwind down into start. Oh, one of the cars off. One of the 2, the B3 racing cars is off in the background. Is that Attila Tassi? I think it might well be. It is indeed. So Tassi drops to the back, and he's got damage. I think his floor is collapsed underneath. Here is the move from Matto Homola. Perfect move. Bit of slipstream halfway down the straight, and then takes the position. And Homola... and then Matto Homola's teammate at the back of the field there, running off. Attila Tassi, also one of the Lukoil Enxler cars, running a little bit wide. Now with Kevin Gleeson is at the back of the field. We haven't seen where he is. There he is. Gleeson's in the pits. So Gleeson's got a problem with his car as Loris Hazemans takes to the grass. He's defending from Dusan Borkovic for 9th position at the moment. And Michele Cerruti also creeping around. Looks like the Alfa Romeo may have a problem. That's a shame to see. The front of the field, though, it is Matto Homola's turn to lead. 22-year-old had a dreadful opening weekend by his standards anyway. Just picked up 2 points in the 2 races in Bahrain. And he expected to do a lot better than that. There is Loris running wide. He was trying to get a bit of a run on Pepe Oriola, I think. and didn't manage it. Aku Penelin now on the defensive from Sergei Afanasiev. Afanasiev down the inside. This is for 5th position. Penelin locks the rears as he turns in, and that's invited the Russian down the inside. Now Penelin's really compromised himself, and he just about manages to shut the door ahead of James Nash. So claims 6th position back. Now Nash attacks. Ooh, is there enough space? There's a little bit of rubbing going on through turn 5. Still clean as you like racing, and Penelin has the inside line for the next turn. So claims it back. That's going to invite Pepe Oriola into this battle. And he's got Loris Hazemans behind him as well, as Dusan Borkovic runs a little bit wide in the back of shot. Sergei Afanasiev now released to chase down Stefano Camini and the 2 Leopard Racing cars that lie 3rd and 4th. Vernet and Camini not really involved in the battles, as you can see. Those turquoise blue Volkswagens. But Afanasiev is creeping up on the tail of Camini, as we see a replay of David Kajaya running a little bit wide on the final corner. Bit of understeer. Keeps the car facing the right direction. I don't think he lost any positions there. Kajaya in 12th. Krashov in 11th in the 2 Lukoil. In the 2 Liqui Moly Team Enxler Volkswagens. As we see Pepe Oriola in the Lukoil Seat chasing down Nash. Ahead of him, his teammate, and then Penelin. Great to see Loris Hazemans really getting stuck in as John Gentry looks to the inside of the little Alfa Romeo Giulietta. Nash looks to the inside of Penelin. And oh, that's disrupted Penelin's focus. He's run wide, and that's easy pickings once again at turn 1. James Nash moves up into 6th position. Penelin looks like a sitting duck down that start-finish straight. Then he compounds it by getting his braking a little bit mixed up going into the first turn. Penelin, a young driver in this championship from Finland, has been racing in tin tops since karting, so he's got plenty of experience with front-wheel drive. Oh, the Subaru's getting involved. Great to see. Trying to go around the outside of Francisco Mora, the Portuguese driver. Good to see it in the thick of the action. Luigi Ferreira, who piloted the car in Bahrain, managed to grab 8th position in the 2nd race of the championship. So that does have the pace when it wants it, as we switch our attention back to Matto Homola. The gap to Gianni Morbidelli, half a second. The question is, how much does he lose in this final sector? Morbidelli has been complaining a little bit about power, and he's been complaining a little bit about power steering in free practice 2. Wasn't sure whether they'd really solved the issue, because they didn't do anything to fix it, and it just disappeared in qualifying. First 4, 5 cars, 6 cars now, pretty spread out. Oriola hasn't made any impression on Penelin. And actually, it's Dusan Borkovic who is the man on the move at the moment. Still finding pace in his B3 Racing Seat, despite the fact that we've already had 4 laps. The tyres holding on well. Homela's last lap was his fastest also. And this is where the balance of the car shifts. Tyres are up to temperature now. The rears are working well. So suddenly that massive oversteer that the drivers were suffering from in the first couple of laps dissipates. And then the cars start to become a bit understeery, where the front of the car washes away. They turn in and they don't get what they expect. Nobody's done a race run because of the lack of tyres. Now, we only had 12 new tyres for this whole weekend. So free practice 1, well, that was wet, so they didn't even use any of their allocation. But free practice 2, limited running. Some teams choosing to do 10 or 11 laps, others maybe just 2 or 3, and saving their tyres then for qualifying and the races. Therefore, when we get into lap 7 or 8, We're going into the unknown of how these tyres are going to react. They're testing on Wednesday, but it was very different conditions, much colder, and therefore the temperature of the track was much colder as well. How are the Michelins going to react? Michele Ceruti sitting in her car in the pit lane, looking like she might go out. The Alfa Romeo and Subaru teams very much using the start of this season as development. Now we've got a yellow flag off flying at turn 10. So who have we lost in the third part of the lap? Just having a look at the graphic to have a see. It might well be the Subaru, I think, which will be a shame. It's either the Subaru or Attila Tassi. It is Luca Rangoni we've lost at turn 10. That's a shame. Hopefully no damage to the car. And Michele Ceruti back out onto circuit then to test that car a little bit further. Didn't get into the top 10 in qualifying, and therefore she won't be making any more progress in terms of up the field in the grid for race 2. And there is Luca Rangoni being towed. Quite sure where he is, but he must be off the circuit somewhere. Oh dear. He's lost. The whole front end of the car has collapsed. The steering on the left-hand side has gone, as you can see. And then steering, and then something popped off the right-hand side as well. So that's a little bit worrying for the Top Run Motorsport team. Good pickup from our cameraman to see that bolt fly off, but it didn't look like it was a nut. These wheels are fixed on by your traditional 5 studs. Therefore, you wouldn't see such a large stud drop off the car. More problem solving then for the Subaru team. Absolutely no development done, no running done between Bahrain and here because of the short turnaround and the fact that the cars had to come back from number 1, Bahrain, then number 2 from the airport that they were dropped off at, and then they had to get here. That was Dusan Borkovic running a little bit wide. Has that given Grashov an opportunity? It might well have done. Dives to the inside, claims the line. Lovely move from Mikhail Grashov. That was great driving. Dusan now is starting to struggle a little bit. Had some pace early on. Another one to struggle, Pepe Oriola. Under pressure from Loris Hazemans. Now remember, Oriola has 30 kilos of ballast. Now Dusan Borkovic getting stuck in to the rear end of that Volkswagen. Nose in, helping Grashov round turn 4. But clean and fair racing. Trying to see where David Kajaya is. Now he's fending off Francisco Mora. So they're slightly fading as well as we get into the halfway point of this race. Mora looks to the inside. Can't find a way through there. Big oversteer moment from David Kajaya. The star in Bahrain, absolutely loved Bahrain. Just missed the podium in race 2, finished 4th. But here the Liqui Moly Team Enxa cars have not found the pace of their sister team, the Leopard Racing. Volkswagens are still lying in 3rd and 4th. Francisco trying to get a nice run out of the chicane there. Wants to set himself up through this last long right-hand turn to be right in the slipstream when they get onto the straight, and then claim the line down the inside. We've seen the move done previously by other drivers. Massive defensive work already from David. No chance that Francisco is going to find an inside line here as Oriola defends from Heisemans ahead. So Mora goes to the outside line. David Kajaya is still in the middle of the road. Can Mora get a better drive off the corner? That'll be the next plan. Now he goes to the outside line for the next turn, but it's a bit of a quick flick rather than really a braking zone that's the opportunity for a pass. Now, who are we waiting for here? I think we were waiting for Mato Homola because he's been caught by Gianni Morbidelli. Hommler still getting used to the different tyres that they've got to use in TCR, the Michelin in comparison to what he's used to before, and how they behave over a long stint, over 15 laps of abrasive action here in Estoril. That is a learning curve for Hommler, and it's something that Morbidelli already knows about. Vernet doesn't, the single-seater ace, Le Mans class winner 2 years ago, getting used to front-wheel drive. And one of the big things about front-wheel drive is looking after those front wheels that do the turning, that do the accelerating. And Jean-Carl Vernet is learning all about that. Tyre stack gets binged out the way by Pepe Ariola, who was very vocal about the tyre stacks when we were talking in the driver's briefing at the start of the weekend. And he unceremoniously removes one of them. Some of them I don't think we really need them there, to be honest. Certainly that one doesn't look like it needs to be there. Now, through the final turn, maybe Francisco Mora does have the opportunity. Looked like he had a really, really good run. He comes out of the last turn at the top of the shot. And again, David Kajaya goes super, super defensive. All the way down on the dirty side of the circuit. This time Mora decides not to hassle him, and he now is going to try the switchback. Yes, that's the way to do it. Great stuff from Francisco Mora, but David Kajaya is super late on the brakes. Can't. I was about to say can't get the car stopped, but he did get the car stopped, found the apex, and kept on claiming that 12th position. Good stuff. Good stuff on the brakes from David Kajaya. Francisco Mora had all the plan there. One lap, stayed to the inside, so David stayed on the inside to defend, and then at the very last minute they both moved to the outside. That time through. He didn't give him the hassle. He removed himself from the situation, so Kajaya felt comfortable that the inside line wouldn't be taken, and then Francisco Mora moved across under braking, but was a bit too early on the brakes. See what he does next time through. Kevin Gleeson hasn't returned to the circuit, so stays in 17th. That's a disappointment for him. Here comes Morbidelli. Oh, not really an overtaking opportunity there through the chicane. A little bit of a lock-up from the inside wheel, but a very different line as they come out of the corner. Not really anywhere around here to overtake. You need to set yourself up through these two turns for the start-finishing line. Better run through there. Is he going to claim the slipstream down the straight and hassle Matto Hommler? 6 laps remaining. Jean-Carl Vernet third, Stefano Camini fourth, Sergio Afanasiev fifth. Then it's Nash, Panelin, Oriola and Heisemans. Hommler doesn't feel the need to defend going into the first turn. It's been a Seat-dominated affair so far in 2016, a slightly uprated car they brought to the championship, as did Honda. Honda now with a Yas-tuned engine rather than a Mugen-tuned engine. Here goes Gianni Morbidelli. A better line through that right-hand turn. Now flicks to the left-hand side to try and claim that. But the line doesn't open up for him. He's much, much stronger, isn't he, through these fiddly technical sections of the track. But Hommler has the grunt down the start-finish straight to keep Gianni Morbidelli at bay. Morbidelli also has this slight seed of doubt in his head because he hasn't raced door-to-door with Hommler so far in his career, other than in Bahrain. So he won't necessarily know what Hommler's characteristics are in terms of how aggressive he'll be. What will he do on circuit? What Morbidelli doesn't need is a DNF. Neither of them need to be firing each other off the circuit. So Morbidelli needs to try and be clean. Once Morbidelli knows about your characteristics, we've seen this with other drivers, he'll then start to bully you on circuit, tap you around. We've seen that with Camini last year. We've seen that with his teammate even in Bahrain. Not that that went down particularly well in the West Coast racing fraternity. Big oversteer moment from Matto Hommler, but it works for him. Look at his advantage going into the corner. Now the car starts to oversteer towards the exit of the turn. Just about keeps it on the tarmac. Camini slides to the outside. West Coast Racing analysing the data. Just 2.5 tenths between the two of them. Morbidelli thinks about it. Hommler sits in the middle of the road, though. Very much gives the impression to Morbidelli that he knows he's there and he will defend if needs be. Great stuff from the 22-year-old. I mean, this is two completely different class of people. A 48-year-old with F1 World Touring Car experience against a 22-year-old who's just done 2 seasons of European touring cars. Yes, in this car, but not on these tyres. And actually, it wasn't in exactly this car because the Seat has developed for 2016. And Matto holding his own. This is great to see. I can tell you that Francisco Mora has got ahead of David Kajaya for 12th position. Dusan Borkovic still out of the points though in 11th because Michel Grashev is holding on to that last point scoring. Now side by side, Matto Homola on the left of screen, Gianni Morbidelli on the outside on the right. And again, Gianni has found himself in the wrong part of the circuit. Can't find a way through around this back section. And it is inviting Jean-Carl Vernet to the party as well. Vernet fast on the last 2 laps. Here he comes now, Morbidelli up the inside of that part of the chicane, but no way Matto Homola is going to allow them through. And Jean-Carl Vernet now is going to have a nice drive through the right-hand turn, but it's not really an overtaking opportunity. Now it's 3 for the lead. Strong, robust defence from Matto Homola. A bit of contact between the two. Firstly into the corner and then through the second part, the right-hand turn, but he still stays ahead. But he's definitely going to need to defend now. Surely Morbidelli has a much better run out of the last corner and onto this long main straight here in Estoril. What about Jean-Carl Vernet? What's his engine providing him? That Seat is strong though, isn't it? Whoa, no chance to outbrake Morbidelli. And it stays the same. Here's a replay. Morbidelli, just a little tap. A little bit of bodywork comes flying off. Wasn't intentional. Gets alongside, but then the circuit turns right. Oriola's been in the wars as well. Looks like Loris Heisemans has been attacking his rear end. Morbidelli now to the inside of the left-hand turn, but Matto Homola knows that the next turn is right, so it's okay. It's more of a defensive move. Homola has the inside line for the next turn. And once again, oh, Morbidelli's trying to luck it out around the outside. This is going to work for him. Morbidelli has the inside line now, under brakes. And we have a change for the lead, or do we? They're still side by side. What great stuff, what great action. Homola now needs to switch to the left-hand side. And he does so. But Morbidelli, I think for the moment, has claimed it. Jean-Carl Vernet wants a bit of a party of this action, and Stefano Camini's now going to be there. Now, what is Homola going to do? Is he going to do the same as what he did? He had done to him by Morbidelli. He may well do. A little touch from Vernet. He's got the run down the inside for second position. What a move from Jean-Carl Vernet into second. He's learning his TCR craft well, isn't he? And Matto Homola gets shuffled down. It's all going pear-shaped for him. Stefano Camini, the champion from last year. Now in 3rd spot. Or fighting for 3rd spot. He knows how the Seat works. He ran it with Target competition last year. He's moved teams to Leopard Racing this year. He's moved models as well into a Volkswagen. Still learning. And Homola's Seat shedding rear-end bodywork, but it's strong enough to keep Camini at bay into the first turn. That engine is strong, slippery down the straight. And Morbidelli now scampering off into the distance. 3 wins last year. That was a little tap from Jean-Carl Vernet that just unsettled Matto Homola through the right-hander, and the chicane allowed Vernet down the inside. Lovely move, and he got it stuck. You see, he dived down. He was far enough ahead here to claim the corner. Now Camini goes alongside Matto Homola for 3rd position. Poor old Matto. It's all going wrong for him. Still around the outside. This time Matto's got the inside line for turns 4. Camini's late on the brakes though. Ooh, can he get it into the apex? Not quite, and Homola's still alongside him. Now Homola needs to ease him off the circuit. Homola's being very kind indeed, giving him plenty of racing room. And that has allowed Camini down the inside to the next right-hand turn. And claims the position. I think Homola's going to look back at this and think he wasn't quite robust enough with his defence. Because he's fallen from a potential win and he's now off the podium. Look at this. Little mistake from Homola, which invites Camini up the inside. Kamini shuts the door on the exit. And then at the next turn, I'm not sure if there was contact. Oh, there was contact there, but that was a different lap, I think. Further back, Oriola, Heisemans, and Michel Grashov. Now that is far more aggressive. Grashov pushing Heisemans right to the outside of the circuit. Amazing to see Oriola still there with them. 8th position for Oriola. Now this is the thing. Matto Homler has a strong top speed down the start-finish straight here in Estoril, so could still claim that 2nd position back. Kamini goes defensive. So he's going to invite Afanasiev and Nash into the party as well for that final podium spot. Morbidelli and Vernet have scampered off into the distance. There's not long left either for Matto to stay on the podium. Gleeson having work still done to his Honda. No point going out now. We're on lap 14 of 15. Homler still close. Needs to be stronger on the brakes though to dive down the inside of Stefano Kamini. This time, no chance. And uses all the circuit and a little bit more. Can he rely on a mistake from Stefano Kamini? I doubt it. Leopard Racing Team have 2 of the best drivers in the business. Single-seater ace changing his craft to touring car racing, and then a man who's born and bred in a front-wheel drive car. McGann's, Clio's, and then champion of the inaugural TCR International Series last year, Stefano Kamini, giving himself a new challenge with Leopard Racing and the Volkswagen. Complained yesterday about how poor the car and the engine was, then qualified in 4th, and now is on course for a podium. His first podium of the year. Thumbs up from the team. Last lap of the race. This really is his last chance for Matto Homler, and he's not close enough. Not close enough under brakes. And unless Kamini makes a mistake, I think it's order as it was. Matto Homler's actually concern is going to be Sergei Afanasiev, rather than trying to move up through the field. Big, ooh, horrible understeer moment from Sergei Afanasiev. Took 3 or 4 bites of the cherry at that one, and the car just continued to slide to the outside. Honda winless so far this year. As we have a look at Dusan Borkovic, blimey, both of them super late under brakes. Grashov has lost 2 positions there. I wonder where Mora ended up in all of that, but that may well mean that Borkovic is now in the points in 10th. But not the progress that he was hoping to make. Grashov had done such a good job of bullying Heisemans off the circuit, and then both of them just playing chicken with each other in the last turn, and didn't go quite right for him. Last few corners then for Italian Gianni Morbidelli. This is the championship fight starting now for the Italian and for the Honda team. No wins in the opening round of the championship. 5th. He took 2nd in the first race in Bahrain, but he's going to go 1 better here in Estoril. The checker flag awaits, and it is Gianni Morbidelli who takes victory in race 1 here in Estoril in the Honda. The first win for Honda this year, first win for West Coast. Applause from the pit wall, and he will be joined by 2 Seats, 2 Volkswagens. Jean-Carl Vernet and Stefano Kamini put 2 Volkswagens on the podium and no Seats whatsoever. Homler 4th, Afanasiev 5th, Nash 6th, Oriola 8th, Heisemans 9th, and Mora finishes in 10th, with just Aku Pananen in the lone Honda in 7th position. And really good work from the Leopard Racing team. Opening weekend for them in touring cars, to be fair, because they're run by WRT, who've got plenty of experience in GTs, but not with front-wheel drive cars. Opening weekend, very much a learning weekend in Bahrain, and they've grabbed their first podiums. I think we'll see a slightly smilier Stefano Camini, won't we, when he gets to the podium. And Gianni, who's been struggling a little bit, he'll still, I'm sure, complain about the lack of top speed down the start-finish straight. But the car preserved his tyres better. He preserved his tyres better. And at the end was able to eke out a 1 second advantage over Jean-Carl Vernet. Although Vernet was faster in the last couple of laps. Maybe more aggression needed in the setup of the Volkswagen. Honda, Volkswagen, Volkswagen. The first the Seats, Matto Homler dropping to 4th. He'll be disappointed, 5.5 seconds back by the end. And the back shot there, the Subaru that kind of self-combusted on the front end. And the Alfa Romeo did complete the remaining race, took the checkered flag, 3 laps down. So that's Gianni Morbidelli's 4th win in TCR. Took 2 victories in Monza, 1 in Shanghai last year. But inconsistency was what put him 4th in the championship last year. He was best at Honda, but there were too many retirements and DNFs. In fact, he didn't start the second race in Sochi from damage. A 2nd in race 1 in Bahrain, a 7th in race 2, and now victory. Jean-Carl Vernet is going to be very, very happy with himself as well. 2nd position in his 2nd weekend in touring cars. No points in Bahrain, and now gets on the board. Applause for Gianni Morbidelli, applause for Stefano Camini. And plenty of time now to enjoy the sunshine and enjoy and lap up the results from race 1 before the second race at 5 o'clock local time. Gianni Morbidelli is your victor. Great stuff. Hugs from the team. Team owner on the right-hand side and race engineer Paul Hambry on the left. Thumbs up for the cameras. And the back of shot, Jean-Carl Vernet with a big smile on his face. Stefano Camini yet to take his helmet off, but yeah. I think there's be a wry smile behind the balaclava and helmet and beard of Stefano Camini. Yeah, he looks pretty happy, doesn't he? Far better than 7th in Bahrain race 1. Here is the result then. Gianni Morbidelli, a 1 second advantage at the end ahead of Jean-Carl Vernet and Stefano Camini. Matto Homler, the pole man, dropping to 4th by the end. Sergei Afanasiev and James Nash, 5th and 6th. Aku Penelin, the next Honda, in 7th. Pepe Oriola, Loris Heisemans, and Francisco Mora picks up a point on his local track in 10th position. Out of the points, sadly for Mikhail Grashev, some great fighting further back, along with Dusan Borkovic and David Kajaya in 13th, Ati Tassi in 14th, and then the Subaru and Alfa Romeos round out the back.
Gianni Morbidelli, congratulations on your first victory of the year and a result you really needed.
Yes, I needed, my team needed, because they work hard. We were here, we had some problem with the power steering all through the weekend, so we solved that, and you know, a victory, of course, it helps a lot now. We are all excited, we're all happy about this result, and that's good. That means that we are competitive, and we have to carry on in this way for the rest of the season.
Fantastic battle with Matto, but in the end, experience won the day.
Yeah, sometimes it helps, you know, to have some experience. I just being very conservative in the beginning of the race. I didn't push too much because I had intention to preserve my front tires. This is what I did, and I saw him that he started to be in a little bit difficult, so I started to push a little bit more, and it was not easy to overtake him because he was closing the door all the time, and of course, you know, and I tried to stay in the position, but you know, I did a good overtake, and great, I'm happy, and thanks again to all the team at West Coast Racing. They're working so good, so I really appreciate what they're doing for me.
Complimenti.
Grazie, thank you. Ciao.
Great stuff from Gianni Morbidelli, and very calculated drive from him, preserving those front tyres. Here's the driver's points then after the race. Morbidelli comes up to equal points with Oriola. Nash just 11 back, and Afanasiev 4th. Dusan Borkovic 5th. Kamini and Vinay move up 6th and 7th. Hommler stays in 8th, just 34 back. But the most important thing is everyone's got a lot closer now after the next race. So Oriola, Morbidelli equal on points going into the afternoon's action. Heisemans and Francisco Mora get their names on the leaderboard, and still no points for Kevin Gleeson. No luck whatsoever. We are getting ready for the podium then. The West Coast Racing Team applaud Gianni Morbidelli, who steps on to the top step of the podium alongside Jean-Carl Venet and Stefano Camini. A great result for Leopard Racing, but the best result for the Italian Gianni Morbidelli and the West Coast Racing Team. Paul Hembry is there to represent the Swedish team. Of course, that is Paul Ridgway on the podium, rather than Paul Hambry, the president of another tyre manufacturer. So the trophy then, a nice large trophy presented by Carlos Gracia to Gianni Morbidelli. Win number 4 puts him equal on wins with Pepe Oriola for second in the all-time list. Honda move up to 7 wins all-time in the TCR International Series. First podium, first front-wheel drive trophy for Jean-Carl Venet. And this is a place where Stefano Camini's been before, but a very different challenge this year. Developing the Volkswagen, running with a new team that are not used to front-wheel drive. Stefano is the linchpin. And he's done a fantastic job to get the WR team to where they are today. Now it's time for the Pommery to spray, for the drivers to enjoy an afternoon in the sun. And we're going to be back with you at around 5 o'clock local time. We are in Portugal, so that's the same as the UK, 1 hour plus for Europe. And we've got plenty more action for you with a reverse top 10 grid race, 2 of the weekend. Make sure you join us here in Estoril for that.